Hello everyone. We are coming to the very end of Dysautonomia Awareness Month, and I want to share with you my story related to dysautonomia. As many of you all know, I'm diagnosed with episodic ataxia, and I experience sporadic bouts of poor coordination imbalance and so on. I've done many videos on that, but today I want to talk to you about two forms of dysautonomia I was diagnosed with, and I was diagnosed with them a couple years before my episodic ataxia diagnosis. And what I find weird is some of the symptoms between my episodic ataxia, which is a rare neurological condition, and my dysautonomia would correlate or link together, like there should be a relationship, but I don't know if there is or not. But I find that some people with episodic ataxia experience during their episodes what seems like dysautonomia symptoms. So they would randomly turn red, run a fever during some of the episodes, get hot and sweaty. Dysautonomia is malfunctioning of the autonomic nervous system. And I had an unusual experience when I was diagnosed. I was diagnosed on the tilt table test a couple years before my episodic ataxia diagnosis. And anyways, it's a malfunctioning of the autonomic nervous system, so it controls internal bodily functions like heart rate, blood pressure, kidney function, digestion, sweating, body temperature, and so on. Much more. But when the autonomic nervous system doesn't function correctly, these internal systems tend to go haywire. So you tend to experience high or low blood pressure, chaotic heart rate, whether it's low or high, or an arrhythmia. You either have excessive sweating or you feel like you don't sweat. You get hot, you run a fever, even if it's just, you're out in the heat on a summer day and you can't sweat to cool your body down, so you tend to run a fever. These are functions of the autonomic nervous system that's not working correctly. I was just throwing a few examples out there. But I was diagnosed with 2 dysautonomia conditions on a tilt table test. So, I was strapped to a table, and the table would be like this. You would lay flat on your back, and it would go up, and it would monitor my heart rate and blood pressure as it would go into different degrees and positions. And I would just lay still flat on the table, and the table would go up, down, in different degrees and positions and all that, as it was monitoring my heart rate and blood pressure. And the test was positive. According to my report, I guess I have POTS, which is postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome, and I have progressive orthostatic hypotension is what was noted on my report. So, as I was on the tilt table test, my blood pressure would drop and my heart rate would abnormally increase, and it's called a tachycardia, which is an abnormal increase in heart rate. My heart rate was higher than it should be, and that's what occurred during the tilt table test. The test was terminated early because I started experiencing some symptoms. They thought it was related to my blood pressure and my abnormal heart rate, but what came out was my episodic ataxia symptoms. What seemed like my episodic ataxia symptoms. I didn't feel faint or like I was going to pass out during the test, even though my blood pressure dropped like 70/50. And my heart rate was over 120. But I had an episode during the test. An episodic ataxia episode, what I think it was. And still the test was positive for my POTS and dysautonomia. But like I said, I would have these abnormal blood pressure and heart rate when I would be upright on the tilt table. So it tends to occur when you're standing. And for me personally, I find that I can't stand a whole long time. I can't stand very long at all, period. But I feel like I need to lay down a lot and stuff like that. But these functions would return back to normal when I'd be in a laying down position. So my heart rate would return to normal and my blood pressure would return to normal, within the normal range. I was about 9 years old, and I had my first passing out spell. Ironically, I was about 9 years old when I had my first symptoms of my episodic ataxia as well. Again, like I said, I don't know if they're a trigger to one another or what. I'm just sharing what I experienced throughout my life with these different conditions. To me, they almost feel like they should be connected, because sometimes associated with my episodic ataxia episodes, I get heart palpitations, I got short of breath, and I would have these other symptoms that seem like dysautonomia symptoms, like running a fever, and turning red, getting sweaty, and all that. So these would be associated with my episodic ataxia episodes as well. What seems like dysautonomia symptoms, which I find very strange. Again, I don't know what the connection is with dysautonomia and episodic ataxia, but I'm just sharing with you what I went through and how I experienced it. Because of my symptoms being associated with heart palpitations, shortness of breath, vomiting, and vertigo and all that, it was mistaken for a panic attack up until diagnosis, because it would literally mimic a panic attack to an extent, but it wasn't, even though stress and anxiety brought out the symptoms more. I still had random symptoms when I was not without an apparent trigger, so to speak. Sometimes I would have it without an apparent trigger or an unknown trigger, but my symptoms tend to be worsened by certain things. So I was in church. I was holding a lit candle when I had my first passing out spell around 9 years old. I was taking an ambulance to the hospital, and everything checked out okay at the time. And I did hit my head on something. I scraped my chin. People with this type of condition tend to be at risk of passing out, getting injured, and all these things. But I would pass out. I've had a history of passing out. However, they always were infrequent, so I did not experience it very often. However, I would experience other bothersome symptoms, especially related to my ataxia. So, later on, I've had these episodes ever since. Again, infrequent, but they would happen. This one time I felt nauseated, and as I was going to the bathroom because I thought I was going to vomit, I literally blacked out and I hit my face off of the bathroom door. So I have banged myself up and scraped my face and all that stuff associated with fainting and blacking out because of these conditions. That's what I wanted to share. I just wanted to share my dysautonomia story and what had occurred and all that. So, and I hope it brought you some insight. Dysautonomia, or orthostatic intolerance, POTS, can be associated with a variety of symptoms. Some symptoms are near syncope, which is fainting, loss of consciousness, injuries, multiple hospital stays, cold extremities such as cold feet and all that. Let's see, low blood pressure, fast heart rate. Depending on the type of dysautonomia, the symptoms can be different, but they involve the autonomic nervous system. So, anyways, I hope this brought you some insight, and I'll see you next time. Bye now.